Hi, this is Jordan from Recap Animation. All properties are owned by their respective companies. Please enjoy. Previously we saw, when Kugyoku and Hakuryu arrive, Kugyoku accuses Sinbad of defiling her body. But then, with Yamreaha's magic, Sinbad proves his innocence. After Alibaba and Sinbad are inflicted by a curse from Ithnan, Sinbad instructs Alibaba and his group to clear Zagon's dungeon because the Jinn has the power to heal their curse. As Alibaba and his group venture deep into Zagon's dungeon, Zagon tests their strength with a little game after kidnapping the Tauren girl. Hakuryu wants Alibaba to allow him to fight as he cannot be weak for his whole life. They accept each other as friends and decide to conquer the dungeon together. Afterward, Judel prepares to direct his attack towards Sindria through a magical arrow. Alibaba's gang hears Zagon's song. They rush downstairs towards the pack of wolves that are waiting for them. Back at the palace, Yamreaha uses her white rook to make water bodies for Alibaba's companions, which shows her their situation. Yamreaha reports to Sinbad that even after distributing into groups, they reunite and continue as a team. Jafar is relieved that Alibaba's group is fine. Then, Yamreaha senses something disturbing the barrier. Outside, Sinbad notices Judar breaking through Yamreaha's barrier. Jafar instructs soldiers to sound the alarm to move to Crystal Plaza. Afterward, the soldiers surround Judel, and Jafar strikes Judel with his household vessel, though Judar reflects Jafar's attack right back at him. When Judel demands to speak with Sinbad, Jafar holds his household vessel to attack him. Sinbad stops Jafar and meets Judar. Inside Zagon's dungeon, Alibaba cuts through the pack of wolves, and Aladdin bombarded flames on them. Hakuryu gives a back shield to Alibaba. Morgiana is glad at how they are fighting as a team. When she kicks the wolves, her household vessel begins to glow. She is happy to fight for them. In Sindria, Judar explains that every era had three Magi's that created the nations. He mentions the two Magi, Hawk in rain, and a person who travels around the world creating dungeons. He asks Sinbad about Aladdin, who is a Magi. There has never been a fourth Magi in history. He is curious about Aladdin's mysterious powers. He remarks that Sinbad is using Aladdin. Judar states that he wants to join forces with Sinbad, and then Sinbad reminds him of what happened in Parthivia. Judar was born in a small village and chosen by Rook ever since he was a baby. Judar informs Sinbad that he was a victim of Altheman, who killed his parents. Just as Sinbad is about to console Judar, Judar bursts into laughter. He praises Sinbad and says that the king has a pure heart. 8 generals wait for Sinbad's orders to fight. He states that Altheman is going to war with Sinbad as he involves Magi in the battle, and mentions that Aladdin's group is not safe at Zagon's dungeon, as an organization sent some people to the dungeon. Alibaba's group is standing in a wide open space in a dungeon. A sound echoes, and suddenly Zagon arises from the ground flowers. Aladdin uses Halharases magic to attack Zagon and asks Zagon who he is, since Jinn is not affected by a Magi's attacks. He tells that he is a Zagon creature who looks like Zagon. Alibaba demands fake Zagon to release the villagers, and when fake Zagon refuses and makes a rude comment, Alibaba cuts fake Zagon's head off, though fake Zagon regenerates and sprouts a few more copies of himself. After Alibaba and Hakuryu are knocked out, a trap door opens beneath Morgiana's group. They fall into a deep well. If they hit bottom, they will be swallowed by gastric juice of the true Zagon. Meanwhile, Aladdin tries to save Morgiana's group, but his magical turban gets torn when a vine cuts it. Reflecting her desire to save her friends, Morgiana finally activates her household vessel. She uses the chains to climb out of the trapdoor, and after she sets down her friends, she dives into the trapdoor towards the fake Zagon's main body. When she reaches the bottom, an open-mouthed plant is ready to swallow her. The household wants her to ask for power, as it is made from Amon, the Jinn of Flames. She uses Amol Salsela to bind the plant creature and lights it on fire. Morgiana is overwhelmed with joy that she is useful to her friends. However, her face begins to bleed. She collapses to the ground. Meanwhile, 3 members of the organization are looking at the whole scene. Alibaba and the boys head down to reunite with Morgiana. As she used all her magic, she could not recover herself. Morgiana breaks into tears and apologizes to Alibaba. Tiara appears, and she cries onto Hakuryu's Hakuryu's chest. A silent city emerges when Aladdin and his company enter the treasure room. Meanwhile, Ithnan attacks them with his stone snake. Ithnan informs them that his organization wants Solomon's wisdom and Ali Baba's lives. When Ithnan tells them that he wants Ali Baba and Aladdin to live, Ali Baba, while holding Morgiana, yells that he will not let them succeed. Dunya attacks by throwing a stone snake on them. Meanwhile, Aladdin blocks Dunya's strike with his board, and he urges Hakuryu to take Morgiana and Tiara to safety. Ali Baba's wounds hurt, while he hands over Morgiana to Hakuryu. Heading up the stairs, Hakuryu reassures Tiara that Aladdin and Ali Baba will win. Stone Snake with 3 mouths hits Ali Baba. It seems that Ali Baba and Aladdin have disappeared. In the battle, Dunya hops down to introduce himself and Isaac. She is the princess of Mustasim, a big country in the west. When Ali Baba mentions that Mustasim was wiped out by the Magnustot 10 years ago, Dunya asks Ali Baba why he is still alive due to Balbad being under Ku's rule. Dunya tells Ali Baba that she will kill him using her dark metal vessel. Ithnan adds a dark metal vessel that feeds on Black Rook that the organization could only make. She wants to show her talent to the organization. She demonstrates her strength by stabbing herself with her staff and transforming into a dark jinn. Dunya can control magnetic forces and commands sand or minerals. On the other hand, recalling Qasim's transformation, Ali Baba loses his equilibrium. Aladdin intercepts Dunya's attack to save Ali Baba. Aladdin raids through Al-Harasar's magic. Once Ali Baba snaps out of it, he engages Isaac in battle. Then, Hakuryu reaches the door of the treasure room. Meanwhile, Judar informs Sinbad about the Cow Empire's dungeon conquerors. First, Princess Hauke Ren, 8 princes Kogyoku Ren, and the Emperor's sons. He advises Sinbad not to die before the real fight. He respects Kawen, the Emperor's son, because it is with Kawen that Judar can conquer the eastern continent. He announces that the Cow Empire will destroy Sindria. Then, Kogyoku arrives at Judar and reminds him about what he said. Judar tells Kogyoku to come home. He says he will make her into a general. When Kogyoku is at a loss for words and glances at Sinbad, Judar flies off. Then Sinbad instructs everyone to prepare, as he and the generals conduct an emergency war meeting in White Ares Tower. Sinbad says they will conquer the enemy with everyone rather than restore the barrier. As the dungeon conqueror, he will use his power to make a path. As all the soldiers mobilize for war, Kogyoku visits Sinbad to apologize for Judar's rude behavior. She says that the Cow Empire won't go to war with Sindria because of the treaty. Sinbad tells Kogyoku that Sinbad and the Cow Empire will eventually fight. He asks Kogyoku to go home, as her safety is not guaranteed in Sindria. Kogyoku begs Sinbad to let her fight with him, but Sinbad allows Kogyoku to stay as long as she wants in Sindria. Approaching Sindria from the sea, Al-Thaman's forces are entering the barrier. At Zagan's dungeon, both Ali Baba and Aladdin struggle with their opponents. Aladdin and Ali Baba realize that both Dunya and Isaac are light years ahead of them in power and swordsmanship. Aladdin begins firing rook shots at Dunya as he wants to deplete her magic, while Ali Baba converts his sword back to his dagger as he recalls Shah Khan's words that his jinn-equipped weapon does not match with his sword play. Ali Baba slices Isaac's limbs off, Aladdin binds Dunya to the wall, and before he can blast Dunya, Ithnan intervenes and makes Aladdin push him to the ground. Ithnan awakens Dunya, who remembers her painful past. Dunya's jinn form reverts to a full-body jinn-equipped type. She utilizes it to turn the weapon into a chain scythe, with which she plans to apprehend Aladdin. Yet Aladdin is set free by Ali Baba. After Dunya wakes up Isaac, Isaac uses his household vessel, Al-Kaus-Kausa, which magnetically repels his armor and ground to increase his speed. Isaac confuses Ali Baba for a moment. Then Hakuryu joins the battle. He tells Ali Baba that he found a treasure room. When Aladdin plans to tire out Dunya, Ithnan reveals his forces are approaching Sindria. Ali Baba inquires Ithnan if they are dragging a country into war. Ithnan states that this is Ali Baba's fault for bringing war and death wherever he goes. He asks Dunya to leave Hakuryu alive. Since Judar is interested in Hakuryu, Dunya replies that it will be impossible when she begins using her extreme magic, Riabaldo. Ali Baba worries that he has to do something to protect Sindria. Ali Baba scar grows. In Sindria, Sinbad rallies his men before they engage the enemy. Jafar briefs Sinbad that the 8 generals took their respective positions and the enemy forerunners approached Sindria's shores. Afterwards, Dracon troops fire arrows upon the airborne monsters. Meanwhile, Sharkan encounters Biolin. Both wave their swords at each other, while Yamreaha confronts Apollonius, an older man on a flying chair, and Mazrur engages Zermud. Troops sent by the organization are dark metal vessel wielders. Back at Zagan's dungeon, Dunya's full-bodied jinn equipment starts to gather magic to do an extreme magic attack on Ali Baba's group. Aladdin tries to interrupt Dunya's focus by bombarding flame shots, only to have his attack intercepted by Isaac. Ithnan instructs Isaac to protect Dunya until magic activates. Ali Baba and Hakuryu charge Isaac with Aladdin using water and heat magic to create steam to cover his 2 comrades. When Ali Baba is fighting Isaac and doubting himself simultaneously, he is responsible for all the chaos. Hakuryu tries to use all of his skills to get Zagan. Isaac catches Ali Baba off guard, but Hakuryu steps in to protect him and ends up having his arm severed in the process. Dunya uses her extreme magic, Riabaldo, to attack Aladdin's group. It occurs like a downpour of metal vessels. Back in Sindria, Sharkan turns back to Biolin's attacks. Biolin uses his dark metal vessel to summon 3 shadows to attack Sharkan. He tries to evade hits, but Biolin deceives Sharkan with the 4th shadow, which attacks from his back. Meanwhile, Zermud strikes with his huge black hand to smash Mazrur, but Mazrur's power relies on his stamina. Zermud uses his full-body jinn equipment to form a blast against Mazrur. Then up in the sky, Apollonius uses his Owl Flash, a dark metal vessel, to destroy Yamreaha's Borg. At sea, Haistai attempts to utilize her sea serpents to attack the large purple creature, yet her attack fails when the purple evilness consumes the serpents. Apollonius says that this creature will wash away everything. Over at Zagan's dungeon, Dunya is exhausted and her full-body jinn equipment deactivates. Ithnan points out that Dunya had missed due to Aladdin's invisibility spell. Meanwhile, Ali Baba attacks Isaac at the back and falls him. Dunya orders Isaac to kill Ali Baba, but he trembles as his magic depletes. Ali Baba moves ahead and breaks Isaac's head open. The others find out that Isaac is only a sand doll. Dunya cries over the loss of Isaac. Aladdin assumes that Dunya and Isaac are also puppets of Al-Thaman. Ali Baba stops him from attacking Dunya when he is reminded of Qasim. Suddenly, Ithnan stabs Dunya with his scythe. In Sindria, Mazrur passes through his household vessel, Alalarik Kauza, in the body of Zermud. Nearby, Biolin uses a dark metal vessel surrounding Sharkan. Sharkan slices through the shadows, and Biolin with his household vessel. Rushing to Dunya's side, Ali Baba is infuriated at Ithnan, and his seal breaks. The Black Rook erupts around Dunya. Her memories reveal her painful past that involves the extermination of the royalty of Mustasim as Magnostat defeat them. Disappointed with Dunya's past, Ali Baba's scar slowly consumes his body. In one of the flashbacks, Isaac is skewered to death by swords right in front of Dunya. Just as Dunya dislikes her fate, Ali Baba does the same. Aladdin urges Ali Baba to wake up. Then Ithnan strikes Aladdin with lightning to stop him. He approaches Ali Baba and confesses to polluting Qasim and luring him into this dungeon. Ithnan tells that Balbad is in flames due to him. Annoyed at Ithnan, Ali Baba plunges his sword into Ithnan. The Black Rook swallows up Ali Baba and encases Ali Baba in a full-bodied dark jinn armor. When Aladdin tries to use the wisdom of Solomon, Ali Baba's ornament blasts it with a Black Rook. Aladdin explains that they have to crush the ornament. Morgiana arrives to assist her friends. She tells that she gathers up some magic. She decides to get Ali Baba to get at the cost of her strength. Meanwhile, Yamreaha protects herself from Apollonius's attack by creating a fog. Fog will deteriorate once the magic depletes. By the shores, Dracon uses his dragons to keep the purple ooze from creeping closer, though it proves ineffective, and he has his forces retreat to higher grounds. At Sindria's central base, he tells that Al-Thaman attacked Sindria because they wanted Aladdin and Ali Baba. Kaugyoku asks Sinbad and Jafar to let her help out. In his dungeon, Morgiana, who almost regains her will, battles Ali Baba until Ali Baba pushes her to the ground. She uses chains to evade Ali Baba's sword. He tightens her chains with a black rook and sends her flying to the wall. Ali Baba signs towards Hakuryu, who asks for Zagon's power. Hakuryu calls Zagon to create a wood arm for him. Zagon admits that Hakuryu is stubborn. He rushes back to Morgiana while Hakuryu distracts Ali Baba. Morgiana destroys the ornament with her kick. Then Aladdin uses the wisdom of Solomon to enter Ali Baba's mind. During the invasion of Sindria, Apollonius strips Yamreha's clothing with his magic attacks. Yamreha provokes Apollonius into using his extreme magic after converting into black jinn and reflects it to destroy some of the purple ooze that are eating Sindria's barrier. Apollonius charges at Yamreha in rage. However, Yamreha steps out of the way when Spartos throws his lance to pierce through Apollonius's body. On the other hand, Maezru throws drums and Dracon spits dragon flames, but the purple creature doesn't stop moving Sindria. Then Kagyoku arrives and uses her full-body jinn equip and forms powers to create a wave that destroys all of the purple oozes using Vionel Geniza. Green protection generates around the island. Deep in Ali Baba's mind, Aladdin finds Ali Baba sitting between the spring with snakes on his body. A mysterious figure with long dreadlocks pushes Aladdin. While recalling his past, Ali Baba asks why they have to live a predetermined life. He states that his destiny is to create mistakes. Yet Aladdin has a different answer and explains that Ali Baba is a courageous person whose destiny is to guide Rook. He adds, if Ali Baba messes up his destiny, he should find a better path. When Ali Baba touches Aladdin's hand, Black Rook begins to disappear. Outside, Morgiana and Hakuryu notice the change in Ali Baba's body. Near the shores of Sindria, Sinbad finds Ithnan using the teleportation spell. He transforms into his full-body jinn-equipped form. When Ithnan thinks he has the advantage, Sinbad explains that his body has been cursed already. Sinbad blasts and reduces Ithnan to dust. Inside Ali Baba's mind, Aladdin finds Ithnan, who wants them to finish him. He asks Ithnan why he and his organization are doing this. Ithnan explains that they are releasing everyone from destiny. When Aladdin mentions Al-Matoran, Ithnan gives them a glimpse of the world that has fallen into darkness. Ithnan attempts to provoke Ali Baba into attacking him. Though Ali Baba knocks Ithnan's weapon away, Ithnan wonders how he will face King Solomon while bathing in the White Rook. Back in Zagon's dungeon, Isaac's Rook reunites with Dunya before leaving her. Aladdin thanks Qasim's Rook for helping Ali Baba. When Morgiana is relieved that Ali Baba is okay, she falls into Ali Baba's arms after being exhausted. Later, everyone is heading out of Zagon's dungeon. Aladdin remarks that he will act as Ali Baba's guide and help him become a great leader. If you have made it to the end, thank you so much for watching this recap with us. If you like this recap and want to see more of it, click the like below to watch similar series recaps.